Today's gospel talks a lot about relativism, right? Why is it the guy who shows up at 5 o'clock gets paid the same amount as the guy who showed up first thing in the morning? Perhaps some of this has happened to you in your own lives. For example, one of your coworkers gets promoted before you, and you say, why? I know just as much or more as that person, and I think I would do the job better. So why did they promote him or her and not me? Right? Those types of things happen to us in our daily lives, and a lot of our daily lives, we play this whole relativism game. The same is kind of what they're talking about in the gospel. Why receive the same daily wages if you don't work the same number of hours? But let's break down this gospel to what it really is about. So, we have a landowner, a vineyard, and the workers. Who represents the landowner in this gospel? It's God. God is the landowner. He is the one who is generous and kind and offers everything to the people. What is the vineyard? The vineyard is heaven. Everyone wants to get to heaven. The workers want to work. And the workers are obviously the workers, right? So we put those together and we say, okay, why with the vineyard, the workers, and the landowner do they all fit? Well, each of us in our lives have this same sort of scenario, right? When we look at how things go for us, the relativism is part of our daily life, right? So for me, I looked up through the magic of Google. I looked at me today, and I have been baptized 21,406 days, right? So who here was baptized basically shortly after they were born? Who've been baptized pretty much their entire lives? Okay. And who has recently been baptized or came a little later in life? Okay. So I see Marlene raised her hand. Marlene's a couple years older than me. So don't you know, even though I've got 21,406 days under my belt, she has more. So she's more worthy of heaven than I am. I've only got 21,000. She might have 23 or 24,000, right? But for you poor people in RCIA, why are you even bothering? You're still at day zero. You're at day zero. Well, see, that's where the whole time thing comes in today's gospel. There's a reason why Jesus says they go out at daybreak. They go out at 9 and 12 and 3 and 5 to hire workers. That's where the landowner went out. You see, in those days, those were the prayer hours for the devout, well, for basically back then, all Jews. Now it's the prayer hours for the devout Jews. They pray at 9, at 12, at 3, at 5, and then again later in the evening. Those are significant pieces of time. And what that time represents is that we're all equal. The number of days that I've been baptized means nothing. The people who are going to be welcomed into our church at Easter Vigil, they will be equal to me. But don't you know, I got this. This has got to be worth something, right? And, I mean, he's got more. Doesn't mean a thing. Now, I said at 8 o'clock, if Father Julian was sitting there, and I said to Father Julian, do you think, oh, yes, I'm going to heaven. That's Father Julian, but he's a good guy. But this means nothing. We are each on our own special, unique, and individual journey to the vineyard with Him. It's not when you start. It's how you finish. It's the life you live and the journey you take which determines where you go after this life. It's not the number of days. It's the grace you receive and the grace that you take to get you to heaven. It's not the number of boxes you've checked. It's nothing like that. We are each on our own journey. And the fact that some of us started, I was baptized 9 days. I was born on a Friday and baptized the following Sunday, 9 days later. That doesn't get me to heaven. It doesn't get me any farther up the list as anybody else. It's what you do with your life on your journey is what really, really matters. So for you in our CIA, welcome. As I said last month, you've chosen wisely. Because you are going to be part of the faith and understand and be on your journey with Him. Even though you're not Catholic, you've been on a journey with Him your entire lives. You just may not realize it, but you've been on that journey. And now your journey is going to kick into high gear. For each of us, the journey needs to kick into high gear as well. For us to become more like Him and walk in His footsteps. That is what we are called to do. That is the journey. This is not relativism. I'm sure some of us have left church and said, that woman and her 9 children, she thinks having 9 kids is going to get her to heaven. But those kids are brats. They are noisy. They are rude, right? We spend time tearing other people down about church, thinking, well, I went to church and they didn't, or, well, they just weren't listening. He closed his eyes during the homily, He's not going to go to heaven before me, right? That's the whole relativism we use even in our faith lives, let alone what happens out there. It doesn't matter. We are all equal in God's eyes. God wants all of us to be with Him in the vineyard, heaven. That's what He wants for each of us. And as you see in the gospel, He says, go to the vineyard, right? He welcomes each of us to the vineyard. So that's your challenge this week. Think about where you're at in terms of how you see your faith. Are you a relativist? Or do you really believe you're on your own path, and where is it taking you?